let me just say this. I will give you this much, Powder. The NBA All-Star Game at the Toilet Palace right up the road was actually, for the most part, watchable. Now, I know that's a very low bar. It's essentially the lowest bar. But you barely cleared that bar, Powder, so congrats. Well, at least until the end of the game or the last game, because that really was not watchable. It's supposed to be the best part, right? The championship game, the end of the game. That was actually the worst part by a mile. There were like 6 minutes of garbage time to end that game. Garbage! Which is a lot of garbage time for the end of an All-Star game, especially if that game is only 12 minutes long. That means that half the championship game was actually garbage time, and that's probably being generous. The garbage time probably started before then. But that was inevitable. Who didn't see that part coming? Of course, the old heads. And again, we had the world team, the young heads, and the old heads. 3 different teams. Of course, the old heads gassed out after having to play 3 games. I mean, they're old heads. That's what they do. They gas out. That right there is a flaw to this new format that everyone wants to say is so amazing. You might want to look into that, Powder. Now, that said, overall, the level of play was better. There was some intensity. Guys sort of did actually try. Guys even got back on defense. There's so much more important, or that's so much more important than the format anyway. The format is not the thing. The format doesn't really even matter. The most important thing is, do these dudes give a damn? Do these dudes give a bleep? Like, I don't care whether it's East v. West, US v. the world, old heads v. young heads. If the heads, whoever they are, wherever they're from, however old they are, if they don't care, it won't be watchable. And then the format will not matter. It wasn't better because the format was better. It was better because they actually tried. They actually gave a damn about the game. This time around, they finally seemed to care just a little bit more. And we all know who's to thank for that, right? Young head? Old head? No, a Euro. Of course, my dude Wemby. Wemby! 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 To me, Wemby was the real MVP. Ant got the MVP. But the real MVP is the guy who got the others to play hard. The guy who set the tone. The guy who got everybody to wake up and play ball. Remember last week, KD was trying to point to the Euros and say, why is everybody always coming for us? Why doesn't anybody ever ask, why don't they try? As if it was the Euros who ruined the All-Star game. Remember, the 2 Euros in question, Luka and Joker, they hadn't even shown up to an All-Star game, and the All-Star game was long ruined before then. Well, this time, that alien Euro decided to make it his mission to try to save that game. He said it before the game. He said it in the days leading up to the game. Hey, man, I care about that game, and I'm coming to play. I'm coming to try. I cherish this game. I'm getting after it. And sure enough, he backed it up. He did exactly what he said he was going to do, and he wasted no time in getting that point across. Took the dude literally 5 seconds to make his point and throw down that gauntlet, along with this basketball.
We are just about set. 75th NBA All-Star Game is underway, and Team World has it first. So 12-minute game. That's a great way to start. Victor Wembanyama.
Wemby! Hell yeah, that was a great way to start. Somebody cared. The ball went up and somebody cared. And that's all it took. That was the wake-up call everybody in the arena needed. Wemby! Wemby out here sending alien messages right off the very tip. Running the floor hard and finishing. And those alien messages were evidently received. Anthony Edwards flat out admitted as much after the game. He was like, Wemby came out playing hard. Nobody was going to let him just dominate. We had to answer. We had no choice. As if to say, I didn't know we were going to play that hard, but when we saw Wemby, I guess we had to. We had no choice. You see, this is why this guy is the perfect face of the NBA going forward. He gets it. That's leadership right there. You know, a so-called Euro that actually cares. Though it does make you wonder, If Wemby did not come out with his hair on fire, would anybody else have actually stepped it up? If Wemby didn't set that tone, would anybody else have even given a damn or even tried? Or would it have been like every other whack NBA All-Star game that we have seen in recent years? Another waste of all of our time. And by the way, let's not act like it's some incredible athletic achievement that these dudes actually showed up for once. I mean, it's the least that they can do. I'm kind of getting this vibe like, y'all good now? Y'all happy? You're welcome. Where's our apology? Like, are we no credit for trying? No credit for caring? Wemby actually said pretty much those exact words after the game. Setting a tone was the least that he could do. And he's so right. So let's not act like they just shut everybody up. Let's not act like they just shut up every critic of the All-Star game because they actually sort of kind of cared once. Let's not act like we owe them an apology and that we were wrong all these years. We weren't wrong. Just because they made their own product almost watchable for the first time in forever. No credit for actually trying, especially not until they can prove that this was more than anything but a one-off. Let's see if any of this works beyond this year. We've seen these so-called format tweaks work for a few minutes and then only to have them all return to something unwatchable the following year. Nah, for 1 year. For 1 year, it was almost enjoyable. Let me put it to you this way. The All-Star game was not offensive or a disgrace to the history of the sport. No, the offensive disgrace to the history of the sport was actually the dunk contest. Damn, that made the All-Star game itself look like Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Man, how about that All-Star Saturday afternoon snoozer? First of all, who knew it was even happening in the middle of the afternoon? Who knew All-Star Saturday night was now All-Star Saturday afternoon nap or Saturday morning? Judging by the attendance, even the people holding tickets did not seem to know what time that game or, quote, event was going to start. Look at the toilet palace. Look pretty empty. Empty! Empty!
Wemby! Wemby!
Then again, it's not like there's anything prime time about that dunk contest anymore. So I could argue, well, I can't really argue with moving it out of prime time. Olympics, no Olympics, whatever. It doesn't belong in prime time. It's not a prime time event. It just seemed really, really early. It seemed like that three-point contest was over long before anybody even realized that it started. I mean, should we really be having our first cup of coffee with the three-point contest? I mean, it's a shame because the three-point contest was the best part of the entire weekend. Shout out to Dame Dalla. Dame came out of nowhere, actually, to win that three-point contest. Look at Dame. He has not played a single minute this season. He has spent the entire year rehabbing that shredded Achilles, and then this guy just casually comes back for the three-point contest and is absolutely locked in and puts on a total laser show. I mean, if anybody could, it's Dame. But what an epic moment. That was awesome. Not only that, Dame was also out here recruiting Steph and Clay to do the contest next year. And Steph's already saying he's in. You see, that's leadership. That's dudes actually caring about the event. That's an actual sign of progress. Again, that's all that matters. It's not the format or which events they put on. It's just about the dudes involved in the format and the events who actually care and have pride and try and are not mailing it in and acting like they're doing us a big-ass favor. Imagine if somebody with Dame's stature, the equivalent of Dame is a three-point laser. What if somebody of his stature decided that they cared about the dunk contest and started recruiting other stars to the dunk contest? That's about the only thing that could save the dunk contest. Although we were reaching a point where I'm not sure saving this corpse is possible, right? I'm not sure anybody will ever want to resuscitate this corpse after what went down Saturday night. Look, the dunk contest being on life support is nothing new. Man, that thing has been in a coma for years, just waiting for somebody to go in that hospital room and just rip that cord out the wall. It's a vegetable. It's clinically dead. We're keeping it alive. It's a freaking vegetable. We're officially keeping it alive. Why didn't somebody sign the paperwork to pull the plug on that vegetable? There's no quality of life in there. It can't hear us. It can't see us. It's dead. It's a vegetable. So the dunk contest, being horrendous, is now almost as long running a tradition as the dunk contest being good. It's been a vegetable longer than it was ever actually good. I don't need any Shivo posts, please, or any other vegetables. But somehow it felt like this year really was rock bottom. This year the bottom fell out. Let me put it to you this way. When you're badly missing Mac McClung, you know things are really bad. When everybody is looking around for that 6-foot G-leaguer who's like the back-to-back-to-back champion to show up to make this thing interesting, you know that thing's on life support. You know we're talking about a vegetable. The best that I can say for this year's dunk contest is at least everybody survived. It was touch and go for a minute there. Just ask Chase Richardson. Love his pops. Like his son.
This is Jason Richardson of the Golden State Warriors. You have entered the jungle and are listening to my boy, Jim Rome.
How am I ever going to say anything critical of that dude after he did for me? I hate it. Sometimes I hate this job. I love this job 99% of the time, but it's in moments like this where I do not like this job. I hate doing this family like this. But I got to tell you, this dude who did for me like that, this dude seriously had me worried for a second that the dunk contest was about to claim its first ever fatality.
Fatality.
This is hard to watch. This next clip is graphic in nature.
He's good. Take your time.
Are you good? Is that, if by good you mean, are you alive? I've long said that in the NFL, my feeling is it's not a question of if, but it's a matter of when somebody dies on an NFL field. I've long said that for years. However, I have never once said it's not a question of if, but a matter of when somebody dies in the dunk contest. I've never said that. I've never thought that until this weekend. That was never even on the table until this weekend. And my guy Jace bounced his head off the floor. You could hear it. It sounded terrible. Maybe that will be the final death knell for it. Maybe the final nail in the dunk contest coffin will be some dude nobody's heard of before expiring in the process of trying to make a dunk and ending up in an actual coffin. His contest is supposed to be for the best dunkers in the world. It's not supposed to put any lives at risk. You could even tell Jackson Hayes was like, oh, hell no. Hell no, I'm not trying anything like that. You think I'm going to risk cracking my dome open and bleeding out on this court? Look at this dude. Oh, yeah, that's great, dude. Dude, that was incredible. I'm surprised my man didn't just lay it up like layup drill. Yo, bro, why don't you go offhand with your layup? I'm surprised he didn't stop and pivot, do a little jump hook. Maybe kick it out to somebody else. Kick it out to Dame for a three-point shot. Like, I ain't getting anywhere near that iron. I'm like, did you just see what happened to Jace? I'm not getting anywhere near that glass. What? And impale myself on the glass? You're lucky I even jumped for you bastards! I'm not doing this!
Leave Brittany alone!
He was like, they asked me to dunk the ball, so I dunked the ball. What? I'm not out here trying to lose my life. Did you see what happened to Jace? Never mind the dunk contest. That should now be called the drive and kick. They should call it now the right basketball play contest. Kick to the open man. There wasn't even like a rim protector. It's not like Wemby was there swatting guys. It was just you v the rim. But it damn near cost Jace's life. Jackson was like, this event might be on life support, but none of the dunkers should be on life support after the event. And I can't really say that I blame the guy either. So, horrendous dunk contests aside, the weekend on the whole was an improvement. Because, again, it just comes down to this. Do they care? The format does not matter. All that matters is that they actually try to play some ball and nobody dies in the dunk contest. That's why my guy Wemby is my MVP. Nothing against Ant, but the MVP should go to the guy who got almost everybody else to almost try. That is the most impressive achievement anybody pulled off this weekend. I say that. But, before I go to break, and I am over, one person who does deserve a very special commendation, a shout out. So Ant was the actual MVP. Wemby was my MVP. But if we're being real, the real MVP, come on now. Obviously, my dude and fellow Radio Hall of Famer, class of 2019, John Tesh, performing Round Ball Rock live before the game. Holy crap, bro. Had you done that for our Hall of Fame induction ceremonies, that would have brought the whole house down. Instead of what actually happened. Man, once that dude came out and started that dribble, it was over. They should have just canceled the game and sent everybody home and handed him the MVP right then. Because those 30 seconds of live round ball rock were without question the most electric 30 seconds all weekend long. Personally, I would have given the guy more time up there. Like at our ceremony when they took all the time they wanted. At least he didn't seem upset that they had to keep the show moving. Man, NBC really missed an opportunity, though. They should have had Kawhi mic'd up while he watched that performance in person, because I'm willing to bet that anything Kawhi was singing along, he would have been singing along. He was. I'll bet you anything it sounded like this. You know, I gave Wemby a lot of credit for setting the tone, but in reality it was Tesh. Tesh came out with more energy and more fire and more swag than anybody. My fellow Hall of Famer. And honestly, tell me one player that came out with that energy. None. Wemby. Only Wemby. I think that all the All-Stars took their cue from Wemby, but I think Wemby took his cue from Tesh. And Tesh, who did he take his cue from? He's just built for it, man. He's just built that way. When he started that dribble, I'm like, oh, hell yes. It's on. And it was.